In 2014, the annual Bilderberg Conference was about to take place in Copenhagen, Denmark. I know that this secretive, illustrious gathering has a huge influence on the global political dynamics, so together with two friends I decided to drive to Copenhagen to find out what you can witness as a spectator at the scene of the meeting and how you can interact with the people that are present there.
So we're in Copenhagen. On site, this is the Marriott Hotel in the background, where allegedly the Bilderberg Conference is taking place. We are standing on the protest area, and you can see there are not too many protesters there, but maybe we can start a riot nevertheless. So have you seen anybody already?
Yeah, we've seen Queen of Spain. We've seen Ed Balls, the British Shadow Chancellor. Seen James Wolfenson, Henry Kissinger. We got a picture of him driving in. So yeah, we've seen, probably identified a dozen or more attendees already.
So the plan for the following days is to stay here and scream a bit at them? What do you think?
No, we're going to try and catch them on the loose. As you said, if they go for excursions and walkabouts, then we'll be here to chase after them. So we're not just going to stay here and look at the hotel, it's pointless. But yeah, we're going to be doing a few different things, hopefully.
Yeah, maybe some screaming, yeah.
Oh well, yeah, it's a part of the fun.
And maybe some energy healing. We just missed some energy healers who are calling upon all the angels to make a difference.
All kinds of different people here.
Yeah, it's really a circus. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But it's good that there's some kind of an awareness of this going on. I'm grateful for everybody who's here, and at the moment it's not many. So.
Yeah, it's a fun time. There should be a lot more people on Saturday. It should be 200-300, I think. So that's the big day.
Although we talked about the more spiritually inclined demonstrators in a rather disparaging way, it should be noted that it's in fact commendable that they had both an awareness of the conference and the motivation to come to Denmark to contribute their time and energy. If you do not feel like singing mantras like these people did, well, don't do it. But I do invite you to emulate their dedication and come into Bilderberg to be present and make a stand. This is also what my intention was. I wanted to be there and show at least one senior Bilderberger in person that I as a free human being refuse to acquiesce to be a pawn in the game of a self-righteous elite. As it turned out, I would have the chance to express myself towards Henry Kissinger as he was driving past me on Saturday. Henry Kissinger is often linked to pedophilia and war crimes, among other things. He also referred to military men as dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns for foreign policy, and he said, "The illegal we do immediately, the unconstitutional takes a little longer." I decided to shout at Henry Kissinger because I am seriously angered by his inhumane actions and because I wanted to really convey to him in a very tangible way the passion for freedom that is burning inside of me. I wanted to tell him personally and unmistakably about what I think will happen sooner or later. It's interesting to note that the policeman standing close to me while Kissinger drove past did not even give me as much as a bad look. However, soon after this event, two other policemen came to me, visibly excited. They did not seem to be excited because of me though, but because probably someone told them to confront me. That's what it seemed like, because one of the policemen mentioned that he knew my identity had been checked earlier and that I appeared like a calm and reasonable person. The policeman said that if I wanted to shout, I'd have to go into the protest area at the other side of the street, because they will not allow excessive shouting right next to the hotel, which I found understandable. Nobody would tolerate that right next to his or her own property. I promised to stop yelling and without any further complications was allowed to remain in the area right next to the Marriott Hotel. When I mentioned that I yelled because I am very upset with the fact that a war criminal and presumed child molester like Kissinger runs free, the other policemen nodded in agreement. However, other journalists and demonstrators also made some negative experiences with the Danish police. Luke Rudowski, for example, was arrested together with Dan Dix after they confronted some of the Bilderberg organizers inside the Marriott prior to the conference.
Luke, so you've been here since I think a couple of days or so. I saw a video where you've been arrested.
Yep.
And so you have already had some action here.
Oh yes, lots of action.
Yeah, I haven't followed up on that. So you were already detained, but you were released. But did anything happen to you in custody or?
Just the usual. I mean, they took us in. They tried to say that they're arresting us for possession of drugs. Obviously, we had no drugs. They took us to jail, searched us, took all of our possessions, said we were being arrested for, quote, suspicious activity, which I don't even think is an official charge or an official law here. So they held us in jail for about 2.5 hours. They put us in kind of like an isolation tank, kind of looked like an asylum, just total white cement walls and a bench by yourself that you have to sit there for 2.5 hours. So that happened, but they released me without any charges. So they didn't press any charges. They couldn't, because I didn't do anything illegal. They made up charges to put me there.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you were released, you got your stuff back and your footage.
Got my stuff back. They deleted some footage, but I guess they saw so many cameras because I had so many on me. They couldn't get into all my cameras. They could only get into one, and in that one, I think they deleted one, and then they looked around like, crap, we can't really delete everything, but they did delete one. But we were able to get different shots as well. So, we still have some of the footage.
So this year, I don't know how many Bilderberg conference.
5. Fifth Bilderberg conference.
So what's changed over the years? What's different now that?
It all depends on the location, and it all depends on the year. I mean, right now, what's most different is it's more of a theater show of insecurity by these guys. There's a lot more protection. There's a lot more security. There's a lot more guns. There's a lot more harassment, intimidation than there was ever before here at this location. It was bad in different locations, but this is one of the worst years when it comes to insecurity, when it comes to the harassment and intimidation. I mean, I was detained other times at Bilderberg meetings, but never officially arrested on false pretenses like they did to me here.
Yeah. Well, so far here on this ground, I've actually made some pleasant experiences so far.
Yeah.
With the policemen, they all seem to be very well behaved. The people that are sitting around right here. I don't know.
Well, it depends. Well, you go over there, they shove you and they push you and they tell you you can't film.
If you get closer.
Yeah, you get a little bit closer, they act tougher and very thuggish, very listen to me now or that's it kind of thing. So, some of them are nice, but, majority are just very thuggish.
I have to say that all the policemen that I have encountered in Copenhagen were nothing but courteous and reasonable. Unfortunately, I do not have any of this on video, as I wanted to talk with the policemen in a more private space, knowing that it's very hard for them to express their opinions openly in front of a camera while on duty. But I think it's important that I tell you about what I've experienced. The first policeman I talked to said that he doesn't want to be on record with his opinion about the Bilderbergers, while adding that he is just doing his job and providing security at this event, indicating to me that he is not happy with the Bilderbergers. I don't think it can be expected of the police forces at the event that they suddenly all start to disobey their orders, but what I saw in Copenhagen was that the police was open to communicate and genuinely interested, which was also demonstrated by a policeman reading the Infowars magazine that was laid out in a stack inside the protest zone. The next 2 policemen I talked to walked up to me and my crew across the river from the Marriott Hotel, where we were recording footage. They asked us about what we were doing, which we explained to them truthfully. We would go on to talk about the Bilderberg group, and one of the policemen confided to us that he was suspicious of what he considered to be too excessive security measures, and they both agreed that it's very odd that mainstream media doesn't cover this event at all. We allowed the policemen to check our ID cards, as it's the law in Denmark to identify yourself when asked to do so by the police. After they found out that we were on no terror lists, they let us continue, but only after I had spelled endgame to one of the policemen, who was obviously interested in watching this Alex Jones documentary after I had suggested that he should do so if he wants to know more about the history and the agenda of the Bilderberg group. Then my crew and I were confronted again at the airport on Sunday when we tried to catch some Bilderbergers on their way back from the conference. Airport security made the police aware of us, and so they had to respond. In fact, the very first thing that the policeman who came up to us said was that he was sorry, but that he had to respond when airport security called them to this particular scene. We talked a bit about Bilderberg, and the policeman said they knew about the conference. When I asked one if he doesn't find it curious that there is virtually no mainstream media coverage of this event, despite the prominence of the attendees, the policeman answered that the media dictates what is news and what is not, indicating that he is very aware that the mainstream media is not as objective as they claim to be. After some time, the police were requested by airport security to tell us to leave the area, as we had no official press credentials and were not welcome to wait for the Bilderbergers to film them at the airport. Since the airport is private property and we had no business there other than going after some of the airport's customers, I can understand that. The policeman who communicated this to us also added that it's not his call, but that he had to follow that instruction. We would go on to talk just a bit more about the Bilderberg group, and I was asked if we got some good shots, which I could confirm. We then departed amicably. I have to say that I thoroughly appreciated the attitude and behavior of all the policemen that I personally encountered in Copenhagen. Especially considering their delicate position between the lines of the Bilderberg attendees and the demonstrators, each one that I talked to was respectful, interested in new information, and suspicious of the Bilderberg group. I had the same experience with the other Copenhageners that I talked to, many of whom came up to me to find out more about what was going on at the Marriott. Unfortunately, I have none of these conversations on video, but I think it's important that you know that this happened. The Copenhageners would easily grasp the significance of the strange fact that there is no mainstream media coverage of this illustrious event. However, some of the people I talked to would put the idea that Bilderberg is a secret world government into perspective. The policeman at the airport, for example, asked me if it's not somewhat normal that people would want to network and discuss amongst themselves without any press. I think this is essentially true, and many Bilderbergers, especially the less frequent attendees, probably don't see themselves as part of a secret world government, but rather part of an elite think tank that helps them with their careers. According to Bilderberg researcher Daniel Estelin, the topics discussed at this year's Bilderberg conference included nuclear diplomacy in regards to Russia, China and Iran, the recent gas agreement between Russia and China and its effects on the US dollar as a reserve currency, the rise of nationalism within Europe that is challenging the power structure of the European Union, the European Union's internet privacy regulations and what they mean for the United States, the rise of cyber warfare, Obama's foreign policy, and the climate change agenda. None of these topics say secret world domination. However, if you can read between the lines and know the background to all these issues, you will know that control and domination is indeed what is sought after by the higher echelons of the Bilderberg group. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I want to refer you to Endgame, Alex Jones' seminal documentary about the Bilderberg group, and Thrive, another documentary which connects even more dots. Many of the less frequent Bilderberg attendees are not aware of the information presented in these documentaries and maybe genuinely believe that Bilderberg is just about networking and learning. One of these people seems to be Diederik M. Samson, a politician from the Netherlands, who on 3 different occasions would come out of the Marriott Hotel to talk to journalists and demonstrators.
I will try to get you an invitation next time, but I'm not sure whether you qualify for that.
That's other human beings you're talking about.
I know. I'm also one of them.
Are you an attendee?
But it's about how you treat others. You know?
I speak about others. I speak about you.
Why can't we not
get the truth
about the meetings?
I didn't think so. I didn't think so. I came out here to speak to you. I was talking to her just a minute.
But just in general,
yeah.
The things coming out from Bilderberg, it's not very nice for the normal people, if you want to say it like that.
Well, let me say about me personally. I'm a politician in the Netherlands, and as we as politicians, we heckle every day with daily business. You know, scandals, little things. You read about it in the paper. For me as a politician, it's good to have 3 days, a bit more time, not 5 minutes for a discussion, but 2 hours, with people that know about things, scientists, businessmen. I'm from the Netherlands, in Den Haag. We don't see them in Den Haag too. I mean, we're heckling around with political things. It's nice to be out of there and go 3 days for meetings about new energy, about the future, about what's Europe going to do. How should we get peace in the Middle East? What's happening in Ukraine? Those questions are puzzling me and you, I think so too. You're thinking about the same questions.
Then why
when you talked about
transparent?
depopulation before, you sounded like eugenics. Yeah, but
No, aging population.
But it's the same. You sounded like eugenics.
No. If I sounded like that, I'm sorry, but because I'm not.
Yeah, but it is.
No. What we are talking about
You're
is,
hiding the real
for instance, Denmark or the Netherlands are both countries with a population that gets older and older, which is a good thing because we are more healthy, better food.
We are not healthy. We are getting attacked
40 years
by GMOs and psychiatric.
I know those problems, but
You know about GMO.
yeah, I know a lot about it. I was a former Greenpeace activist.
Yes.
I worked for Greenpeace, so I know a lot about it.
Greenpeace is also a new world order.
Let's agree that I will come back later because I have to get in now. Back again.
Can we get an interview with you over here for a documentary?
Later on.
Just one last question I have. If you do so many good things in there,
Yeah, why is it then open for you?
exactly, you hit the.
That's why I come out and tell you. The thing is, one explanation is that if you are in a meeting with about 15 or 20 people, and now it's 100 people, I want them to speak freely to me, because then I learn more. And if there's a oh no, I didn't sign anything. But if there's a camera on there, you behave different with the camera. I behave different with the camera. And I don't want people to behave different. So I think it's a good thing that for once you have 3 hours in a meeting. But I do agree that after such a meeting, people should go out, like me, and tell you what we discussed.
But you decided that we should have fracking in Denmark.
No, I didn't decide that.
You decide, but like Peter Stig, who was in the TV at the Bilderberg meeting this year, he told that the fracking issue was spoken about at the Bilderberg meeting. Now we have fracking starting in northern Jutland, and we don't want the fracking.
No.
It's destroying our water.
It's a good discussion.
Yeah.
Fracking is something that has obvious downsides to the environment. You get gas out of the ground with fracking, which has obvious advantages, energy. And that's a dilemma. And in the end, a democracy discusses a dilemma and decides. It's not a business who decides. I understand that they want fracking, obviously.
Fracking is destroying our water. They're destroying 3-4 kilometers down, destroying the earth, and you cannot set it back together.
I agree. I happen to agree with you on this issue. There's many issues I don't agree with you on, I think, but this issue I agree with you. But to be honest, in the Netherlands we have 38 seats out of 150. There's 112 other seats, and there's a lot of people that want fracking because they want cheap energy. Cheap energy is something that people like. So that's the dilemma.
But not if we. Deirdre,
I have to wave you goodbye.
I love you as a human being, as a brother. Is there any chance?
We care about the children you talk to.
But I will talk to you later.
Don't tell us what we care about, you bastard!
In the next video you can see how Diederik Samson kept his promise and came out again to answer more questions from the demonstrators.
So what do you think about people who say they're setting the consensus for policy in there?
Well, I can imagine that you think so.
A lot of powerful people get together, they don't just chat about...
But they do every day. A lot of powerful people get together every day. And
the expense to get there for all those people though.
Well, it's not that difficult. It's a weekend.
So what's happening today then? Is it a leisure day for the...
No, it's 2 hours after lunch, yes, that's true.
Right.
You know where they went on the bus?
Did they go in the bus?
Was there. Yeah, she went on the bus.
Museum.
They loaded up.
Museum, I think.
Museum?
Yeah,
wow.
museum.
So were you in the meetings about the EU or Ukraine?
Yes, yesterday I was.
Any positive outcomes?
No outcomes. And there's no, it's a free discussion about an exchange of thoughts. And some people who know a lot about the issue, by the way.
Why did Ed Balls have a huge bag full of files then if it's just a discussion?
Well,
is he giving a presentation?
No, I have a big ball of files with me too because we're working people. So the work continues while we're here.
Okay.
So, did you have a presentation about renewable energy?
I don't know enough about renewable energy. I should have, but that's not a main topic on the agenda.
No.
No.
What's your favorite topic been so far?
My favorite topic, I think it's the discussion about privacy. Really?
Yeah, does privacy exist, or should privacy exist?
It should exist, and it's it's getting more difficult to keep it.
For who? Us or you guys?
Well, for me, because you're following me with a camera.
In a public place.
Yeah, and for you, you're in a public place too.
So I just wanted to have a look here.
Are we when our emails are being infiltrated and?
You are not very organized. You talk to each other.
I'm talking to you.
Sorry?
Did you talk about Bitcoin?
No.
Yeah, did you meet Peter Thiel?
I saw him.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
How's he?
Well, he should be one of you. Hearing from what he had to say, he has quite some libertarian views.
He is a self-proclaimed libertarian. But
no government, no taxes, no new world order. It's what you love, I guess, isn't it?
Why is he in there then? Because they all disagree with him, sure.
Yeah. Well, I do. I know. I disagree with him. I disagree with him.
He has invested in some projects that are kind of contrarian to his outspoken views.
Is that true?
Yes, it's true.
I'm not. I don't have enough knowledge of him to do that, to know that. But I heard some views that he said no taxes, no regulation, whatever. It's nice.
Why did they let him in then?
Because he's invited, I guess, like me. So.
Do they vehemently disagree with him then?
I did, but there's a few people that don't disagree with it. I mean, it's just different views. I think it's amongst you too. There's different views about. Is raising taxes good?
So do you believe in a unionized global system?
Sorry?
Do you believe in a global system for us?
No.
Do you think that's more efficient?
I believe in cooperation internationally. I think you do too.
Yeah, what kind of cooperation?
I think democratic governments should cooperate. People should cooperate.
And
NGOs should cooperate. I'm from Greenpeace originally. So
why is a lot of the policy made from one place then in Europe?
Here, well, oh, you mean Brussels?
Yes.
No, it's Brussels, but it's also all the capitals. Actually, the problem is that the policy is not always made in Brussels, but it's made in Berlin, Paris, London, Amsterdam, Rome, and they don't agree with each other, like you do too, I guess.
Isn't that good to have all these different states and nations butting heads about things? So, because when you have one group or individual deciding the future of global economies,
that wouldn't be good, eh?
It wouldn't be good, would it?
True. No.
So this is why people are concerned about meetings like this.
But on the other hand, if let's take an issue like climate change, you can only fight climate change as a world community. It doesn't have.
Not everyone agrees about the kind of climate change we're fighting.
Well, let's say we talk about rising CO2 levels having a damaging effect on our climate. So let's assume that we do that.
But the ice caps have been increasing in size, actually.
But it's a scientific debate that's not settled yet.
All right.
We need a carbon tax.
Science is about debate.
I know there's a lot of debate, but can you wait until the science is settled?
Can we throw tax money at the problem?
There's no such thing as settled science.
No, that's what I mean. So you cannot wait.
It's a process.
Well, yeah.
So we should throw money stolen from taxpayers to try and solve an issue that may or may not be the issue.
Who agrees with that? Who agrees with that climate change should not be an issue and we shouldn't do it?
I didn't say that. I said there isn't a consensus on how to fight the issue, whether the issue is man-made.
Let's assume
money can solve it.
Let's say we try to agree on the fact that renewable energy is part of that solution.
What about for countries like Africa and India? They're still trying to develop, and it's too expensive for them to have renewable energy sources.
That's why we should help. That's why we should help each other. That's why where we started the discussion. That's why the world community should work together.
How do you help Africa develop with renewable energy?
By making it cheaper. China itself does a good job in that, by the way. So
how about regulation?
I think it helps. I think it's needed. You need to regulate coal-fired power stations in order to become cleaner. And with that, they become a little more expensive, and that makes renewable energy more competitive.
Have you read the IPCC reports, only the conclusions?
I've read most of it, by the way, because I'm a scientist myself.
Really?
And I work for Greenpeace, so that's why I'm having more than.
Is that a good thing, working for Greenpeace?
I'm not sure. I liked it.
A lot of people have separated from Greenpeace because of their agenda and the way their agenda evolved.
All right, so Greenpeace is now also part of the
conspiracy. People say they hold back development. They hold back third world countries with the policies that they're pushing.
That's a good dilemma. That's true. That's a dilemma. So that's also why you shouldn't be too. Let's say you cannot make a radical change. I mean, countries have to develop, and they need energy for that. And most of the energy is polluting energy at the moment.
You don't think countries can develop by being left alone?
Yeah.
Do you think global governance is a given when it comes to having success on the environmental front globally?
No, I don't think. I don't think in terms of global government, but I do think in terms of global cooperation is the only way.
Governance.
Yeah, governance. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Right word.
Company.
Thanks.
Global company to oversee CO2 taxes and regulations.
Well, I don't think that will work. A company shouldn't be global. I mean, we have now multinationals all over the place. You're filming from one, so that's a given. But I think governance should be democratic. Governance should be open.
What about private companies owning the planet, or owning the earth?
Hold on, we do one question at a time. So we?
What about private companies, or even let's say some country states owning the planet and the resources and privatizing them and taking away from people?
We should prevent that. We should prevent that, and in most Western countries, that's due to property rights made by governments, democratic governments. That's a success. It's a problem in some countries in Africa.
But Africa is the richest continent in the planet, and
it still is,
because we have raped the continent and taken the resources. Yeah. Is there any opening to give them back their land?
Maybe the analysis is a bit longer if you elaborate it, but I do agree that that's a big problem, and we need to do the same in Africa as we did here with property rights and regulation and trying to get companies. Yeah, the rule of law.
But you see, the people, they start taking in some politicians who, like for example, Mossadegh in Iran. As soon America comes in and puts in a puppet, president to withhold, for example, the oil to BP oil in Iran. I mean,
I don't think the US considers the Iranian regime a puppet of them.
Oh, but 53 they did with Mossadegh.
Yeah, right.
Because
long time.
Every time there comes a movement within a country where they want to take back their resources, America or the CIA or whoever comes in and tries to hold it in the hands of the American or the international.
That's what democratic governments are for, to prevent such things from happening, and it's not always successful. I mean, we know the history. We have a history of war.
Yeah. You keep saying we, and we should help these countries, and
I mean we as a people.
All right, but do you think that has done more harm than good in the past, and maybe we should try to leave these places alone instead of intervening all the time, because there's so many unforeseen consequences? I'm asking what you think about that.
I don't think so.
No, you think we should intervene and impose?
Well, we should help each other.
What we believe. But historically, the help hasn't resulted in anything positive.
I don't think so.
No?
Look at Eastern Europe. I mean, we've sort of helped each other.
And now Europe, like Russia?
No, Eastern Europe, I mean. Russia is just east of Eastern Europe. But Eastern Europe itself, I mean, countries like Poland and Czechoslovakia and Hungary, Bulgaria, they're rapidly improving right now. They're rapidly improving their living standards. Their democracies, not fast enough in some countries, but we're helping each other. The European Union is sort of a system in which you try to help each other.
The Euro's definitely helped everyone, right?
No, but nothing helps everyone. I mean, there's no such thing as an absolute right and an absolute wrong. You were having
What is the role of Bilderberg in a democratic society?
I think it's just a conference like loads of those conferences where scientists, politicians, businessmen meet each other and exchange views.
But isn't that naive?
No,
why wouldn't everybody's there for their interests, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean, otherwise.
But I'm not naive. Everybody is there with its own luggage, its own interests, its own knowledge.
And you have the impression that there's no a further inner circle, or like.
There's loads of outer circles. You are one of them.
Yes.
Literally at the moment. But it's. I mean, there's loads of places where people meet each other that have different interests.
Yeah.
This is one of them. I'm not naive. That's how the world goes.
No,
that's how you go too.
It's media moguls, oil tycoons. It's
business people, and elected politicians that are responsible to you or to the public.
Yeah, but it's
you're not Dutch, but anyway,
it's not. It doesn't feel representative at all. I don't feel.
No, but
like
not every meeting.
Anything to do with that.
But tomorrow I'm going, the day after tomorrow I'm going back to Parliament in the Netherlands. So then I'm in a public place. But I'm not always in a public place.
What party are you representing?
Social Democrats.
What's your view on the fact that the CO2 comes after the warming periods?
Nice. a nice. That's a long discussion, but I think if you.
Why is it a long discussion?
Because it's a long time that you have to look at. But if you look at the data from 1700 to right now, you can see that it's actually the other way around. Sorry about that.
What about?
There's a few periods in which it is what you said, so warming and then CO2. But it's.
Do you think it's
now a scientific discussion? I'm sorry, but it's influencing each other. So it's a circle.
What about
CO2
is there
rises,
a direct correlation?
it warms, and it creates more CO2 because of tundra melting, etc. That happened in the past. That's happening right now.
The Carboniferous period, they had the lowest amount of CO2 and the hottest climate, so there can be a completely direct link, can there?
No, it's nice. I mean, I know those discussions. Yeah. It's nice.
What about the Dutch royals being represented here? What do you feel about royalty coming to a meeting with elected officials when we as European people have normally been raised in the culture that our royals
my country
are just meaningless?
Yeah, I know. But my country is
symbols of our countries.
They are in the Netherlands.
Why are they?
The royal family has a symbolic.
Like you?
No. They meet. They're part of society. I meet the Queen sometimes, not too often, and you can meet her if you want to.
Can we?
I was a royal guard once, so I have met the Danish Queen myself. However,
that's what I mean.
I do think that it is wrong for royalty to be in a meeting with elected representatives and so many others in such a closed forum.
I meet with the Queen or the King. We now have a King. She's now our princess.
I know she was.
So, and I meet once in a while with the King, which is always the closed meeting. There's never anything said about it, and it's nothing to do with Bilderberg. It's every 2 months, because we have a constitutional monarchy. It's different, complex, and I'm not in real favor of it, but we have it.
It's the same structure in Denmark.
Same structure in Denmark, same structure in Sweden. In Sweden it's a little more symbolic. But now in the Netherlands, the monarchy hasn't anything to say in the democratic process. Nevertheless, the monarchy is part of the constitution. I'm part of the constitution as an elected member of parliament. So we have to meet each other somehow.
Monarchy and constitution, kind of an oxymoron, isn't it?
And I can tell you the discussions are not changing the world.
But you can see why from the outside it looks a bit suspicious.
Well, it does for the whole Netherlands, but the Netherlands are used to it. Denmark is used to it. I think Spain is used to it.
I don't think they're used to it. I think people, they get very, very shocked when they hear that royalty are meeting with power brokers in such a close
How do you reconcile?
They do every day.
People don't know.
But they do every day.
How is that a justification of it?
Prime Minister who then is now, appointed to all kinds of different jobs, and they...
Is he? Is he?
Anders Fogh Rasmussen.
Oh, Rasmussen, yeah.
But I mean, you just see these people, they're doing these things, they go to war there, just see like these people are like, they're not a part of us. They're having their own little club where they're doing their power game.
I can understand you think so, but for instance for NATO, the appointment of NATO, the NATO commander, no it's not the commander, the Secretary General, thank you, is done by all 28 members of NATO. And they're all 28 governments. And in this case, they're all 28 democratically elected governments.
For every NATO.
So you're saying it is very small, like mine, from the Netherlands, but we all have a say in it. That's the democratic.
They all came to Bilderberg before they became NATO Secretary General.
No. Rasmussen was Prime Minister before he became NATO Secretary.
Bilderberg 2 years ago.
Is there Bilderberg membership? I'm attending the meeting.
Attendee.
Yeah, attendee. Yeah.
So does Bilderberg have an influence in picking NATO members?
I don't think so. Jens Stoltenberg is now the new to-be appointed NATO Secretary General. I'm not sure whether he was on this list, but
so you think Bilderberg's supposed function as a kingmaker function is a myth?
I think it's a myth, yes.
Why is the mayor of
I mean, there's so many meetings like this. So many. So if there's kingmaker meetings, there's other candidate meetings.
What about Connie Hedegaard and the fact that she is now the
spread? We can make the spread of the watch,
Sorry, Dave?
To change the government of the country. They can move the spread like they have done in Italy,
Yeah, but it's only...
To send away Berlusconi,
Well, I'm not sure whether I'm not sure whether somebody moved the spread.
No one.
Financial markets refused to lend money.
They have done that. They came in Italy just to do that.
No, but who's they?
In that moment, you can read what everybody knows in this moment, what happened that time.
But I wasn't one of them then, because I don't know.
The Rothschilds, for example, or the Rockefellers, they are like very powerful families who have some very influential.
And that's why we need governments to oversee banks and to regulate banks. For instance, in the banking union.
Bilderberg? Who oversees Bilderberg? Who oversees all your talks?
Well, basically, Bilderberg is not. Bilderberg is a meeting in there. I'm walking outside. You oversee me. Well, not the Dutch people oversee me, and there's other politicians inside that you can vote for or against.
And to a certain degree, only they're very. In Denmark, they've made laws now, so we can't really look into what they're doing.
Is that correct? Is that true?
Yeah, often it's called in Denmark. So they're making more and more laws to make a distance between the people and the people.
Then you should throw them away if you don't like it.
It doesn't seem to be working.
Why not? Every 4 years you have an election.
Yeah, but we don't choose who we are able to vote
they
for.
don't speak about serious things in the election.
Well then, but you know what you.
In that moment,
but you're a person with
something like for the.
You can vote. You can vote. You know what you think is important.
Yes.
So you
Yes,
vote
if
for
you look
what
at
you think is
history,
important.
voting has done a great justice to the people.
I don't think that the Danish they vote to send their son to the American wars to die in Afghanistan.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Many boys they died.
I know.
Because someone want to become secretary of NATO.
I don't think so. I don't think that was the. I don't think that was the reason.
Please.
George Bush, his assistant later on admitted that he's together with Anders Fogh Rasmussen had discussion to give him this position in NATO.
But we had
Afghanistan war.
But we had similar discussions in the Netherlands with Secretary General Jaap de Hoop Scheffer. He was a Dutchman.
Yeah.
But that's a discussion you have. I mean, there's always people who think or have good reasons to think that this was something behind it. And then you have a democratic discussion. And if you don't agree with it, you send the politicians away that did it. That's how it works.
1 million people on the street demonstrating in the
But there's 90 million Britons. So I'm sorry about. In the end,
1 million on the street. You know how much that is.
Well,
1 million on the street.
And then they had an election.
Yeah, but nothing happened.
No, that's not true. Labour lost, partly because of the Iraq War.
No one went to jail. No one was,
maybe but that's different. If you don't agree with somebody, he doesn't have to go to jail.
But it's proven that
yes, they have to go to jail.
Killing thousands of people. Like
if they do something wrong in the criminal court,
the Danish army has handed out people to the Danish military that later on has been tortured and sent to Guantanamo Bay. That is a direct violation of the UN law.
And then a judge should judge about that.
Yeah,
we are a democracy.
But no court will take these people to
Why not?
I don't believe you totally believe that. I don't believe that you're that naive.
The judge will not take this court up because he's now the NATO General Secretary.
No. I think, and I mean, as a politician, I have to be careful about the court because we are not only a democracy, we are also a justice system.
Yeah.
So, and politicians shouldn't interfere with courts. So if you go to the court and you say, I have somebody here who did something wrong in the criminal justice system, then he should be prosecuted.
Several people have tried to prosecute Mr. Hans Christian
That's lovely. Who are you from? Who are you from? You can keep it if you want to. Who are you from? I ask all kinds of. I answer all kinds of questions. Now you do.
Can I ask you a question about policy making? Can you confirm or deny if Bilderberg is part of policy making process, transnationally or multinationally speaking, or global governance, if you will? Is this part of the policy making process in your view?
I deny the fact that there is the policy making process as such, but
consensus.
Going in there learns me something. I'm going out of there
with certain narratives, right?
I go out of there with new information.
Well, perhaps you're not invited to all the meetings.
I can tell you, I go out of here with new information. I'm a politician. I take all kinds of information from all kinds of parts of society. Inside that hotel, outside the hotel, here on this parking lot, and then I go home and I decide what to vote in. And I think I use some of the information you gave me, or you.
So institutional learning.
Process. I mean, it's a process. Politicians should be accountable, and should try to become better every day. So
like
that's
her
why I go to a
optimism.
meeting in which I learn new things, for instance about privacy and about the way we gather information about each other. I learned a lot about that.
Are they trying to improve privacy for citizens?
I think you, with all those cameras here, know a lot about intrusion of privacy.
Well, this is a public space. This is a public space,
true.
but our privacy is being intruded when cops break down our doors, when we have
No. But I was just joking about the fact that there's a load of cameras here.
We don't think it's a joke. We're really sad that we don't see that as a democracy.
No, it's not. That's
really
not democracy.
You guys are manipulating
but you are not democracy either. You feel democracy. I mean, you're part of democracy.
We don't want democracy. We want freedom.
We want a republic.
Democracy is not freedom, it's slavery.
Since when is democracy? I mean, I have to disagree with you strongly that democracy and freedom is something that is counter.
It has been for a very long time, because if the majority votes, for somebody to go to jail that's innocent, that's not freedom, is it?
I
right?
think you and Peter Thiel could find some common sense, or
yeah,
not?
if you have a republic and you have certain inherent rights that are granted to you by nature or God or whatever, but it's also reinforced by a document which is adhered to, instead of having monarchy working with democracy somehow. Democracy isn't the milestone of freedom, is it?
No, it's not perfect, but I think it's a needed piece of the puzzle to create freedom for everybody. One piece of the puzzle. We need loads more of that. We need laws.
Oligarchy is the answer. Oligarchy is
no,
the answer.
I don't think there's one answer.
What do you
I think democracy is a very important piece of the puzzle.
Ruled by oligarchy or what?
Democratic republic. What do you think about a republic system?
Sorry?
What do you think more of a republic system?
I like it.
Where democracy can't overrule certain rights, like the right to your privacy, right to life.
But why? Who's then overruling something? No,
because
nobody.
if in a democracy, if you do vote for something democratically,
but in a republic,
then the majority.
You vote for a president.
Yes, there's certain things you should be able to vote for in democracy, but with a republic, you can't vote for certain inherent rights.
Rights.
So you can't vote for a war, an aggression, because that is against somebody's rights. That should not be a democratic process. That
and who decides then who goes to war?
Exactly.
Yeah, but who? In your system?
There shouldn't be wars.
Well, that's
right?
nice. Yeah, I like that.
There shouldn't be war. Because if we can't fund war.
No, I know, but I
also maybe a more direct
it's a result
element.
War is a result of our system.
If we only have representative democracy where we can vote for a representative every 4 years, it's really
I see what your point, but that's not
what I'm saying is
you were not saying the same thing, but I agree. I see your point. It's Switzerland or California if you want.
Yes, Switzerland doesn't go to war, do they?
Well, Switzerland was never conquered but had some wars. Yeah. But they have large mountains and very difficult to take over. And they have some gold in the bank. But Switzerland has a direct democracy, which is a little different from the democracy we have. Very different. If you prefer that, there's not a fundamental difference between the two types of democracy. I think it could work.
I just think the system encourages
I think in a large country with a complex society, I think it's difficult, but it can work.
Something you discussed in there? Or?
No, not here. No. But I discussed it a lot of times at home. For instance, we proposed a referendum law in the Netherlands to add to the representative democracy. I think that's actually the best way to have a representative democracy, because you don't want to go out every day outside on a parking space and vote.
So would you support a referendum around the world demanding openness from Bilderberg?
Well, that would be nice, but I don't think it's the most important issue to vote on. I think there's more important issues to vote. And you said a referendum around the world. That requires referendum laws on every place of this earth. That's quite difficult. So but it's something to strive for.
About what?
But I remove secrecy myself. I don't have your vote for that.
Well, thank you for that, but you're only one person.
No, I'm myself.
What you're doing, that you're coming here and talking directly to us.
Only one power.
And that is?
Yes, this is objective.
No.
Yes. You want to destroy the government.
Okay, if it's let's say if it's the objective of that meeting, I didn't discover it yet.
They move everything. They move the wars. They do what they want.
You've always backed two sides of a conflict. You backed Hitler and Churchill during the Second World War. So that whoever wins is in your pocket.
So that's how you gain.
Who's you at the moment?
What you say?
Who's you?
Well, I am referring to Bilderberg Illuminati.
Okay.
We've always backed both sides of the conflict. We've always backed both sides of the conflict, so that the winner would be in your pocket.
But you have to speak to me, and I wasn't born then. But I
of course, but you must be aware of the history.
Bilderberg wasn't born either then.
No, it was called Illuminati back then. It was Illuminati back then. But overall, Illuminati, Bilderberg,
shoot will set you free, and do you believe it's a good thing for the people to be free?
Yes.
Why don't you
think that's two very fundamental things that you just said there. It's hard to agree on what the truth is all the time, though, and therefore we have a democracy in which you discuss about what we just discussed climate change. And to be honest, expecting you here on this place, I expected a group that was unisono of the opinion that climate change is something that we should try to prevent.
That's ridiculous.
And there we are.
And we know it.
Oh, that's nice.
We want to believe that you're lying.
And do you agree with him all?
Yeah.
Do you all agree with him?
Yeah.
So CO2 is not a problem?
Do you guys think that IPCC is a good thing?
Gas that gives life.
Is IPCC a genuine
life gas?
We want you to speak.
Well, no, I'm not going to speak in public.
Why don't you think more people are coming out? Mr. Sampson, why don't you think more people are coming out like you and trying to, gauge us?
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't control them. They don't control me.
Are you just, have a positive outlook on us?
Well, that's up to you to judge.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They don't
Maybe
want
I
to
have a very negative outlook on you.
Maybe you do, and I'm trying to gauge you now.
Then it would be a bad thing for me to be out here, eh?
I don't know. Know your enemy.
I think so.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Climate change is a hoax.
Everybody who believes that the climate change thing is a hoax, raise your hand.
Please give us the stream.
It's a hoax. It's a hoax.
Well, then we democratically agree that climate change is a hoax.
Thank you. Thank you. It's now official.
Okay.
But you would certainly be somewhat informed about the 9/11 situation, how it was carried out, and who is behind the 9/11.
No, it wasn't informed.
You're not involved. So how can you
slow down on the
If he were, he would
not invited to the meeting.
Because it is very evident now by all the scientific analysis of the 9/11 that the 9/11 was actually engineered by a very small power group of elite people.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, who had actually put explosive on all floors in the building.
I saw the documentary.
Right.
About that.
And what's your opinion about this?
I think it went in the. I think it was not the truth.
What about Building 7? It wasn't hit by any plane?
It fell down several hours.
I don't think it was hit by a plane, was it?
No, not at all.
It fell down in 6 seconds?
Excuse me, sir?
Since you're this uninformed about it, how can you then? How can you then pretend
about it? But I have a different opinion than you have.
Sir, please, sir.
What's your opinion about Building 7?
I think there were two buildings that were taken down.
Please,
by two
sir.
planes.
He's only one man. He can only take one person.
The other buildings were taken down by the.
So you are a sheep. You are definitely.
5 hours later? 5 hours later?
Might be better in a
Fire. It's called create I'm an engineer.
Fails me every time.
Not all engineers say I'm an engineer.
Do you have any evidence of the so-claimed hijackers boarding the planes, going into the cockpits and flying the planes? You don't have that evidence.
Do you have the evidence of the opposite?
You can't fly planes that way. You can't fly planes that way. Pilots say you can't fly Boeings that way.
Yeah, well, you can.
You cannot bring the pilot who can do it. Bring the black who can do that. It's totally bullshit.
No. Let's keep it cozy amongst each other.
You don't have to prove. You don't have any kind of proof of the.
What's the schedule like?
You're right. You don't have to prove either. It's difficult.
The challenge and have the debate when necessary.
We have a debate.
Take the challenge. Take the challenge.
Can I ask you 2 questions?
Dear people,
take the challenge. Take the challenge. Take the challenge. Take the challenge.
like shout.
But is it appropriate to come at 15 o'clock when Niels Harrit knew for, I don't know, 14 days that Niels Harrit would come at 15 o'clock, and then when he's starting to speak...
I have 1 hour to spare. I come here.
Yeah.
But I don't like to shout at you, so I don't like to
speak, but I couldn't get your attention from over here. So I had to yell.
Ask me a question.
Yeah, why speak when Niels Harrit was scheduled to speak? You pull all the
different.
I'm speaking, and I'm asking, please.
Try to agree on who's speaking first.
Yeah. Why did you come? When Niels Harrit was scheduled to speak,
actually I came here because I got a message from a journalist that I spoke yesterday, and he asked me to come again. So that's why I come.
He got arrested today.
Did he? Oh, that's a problem.
It's good, and I spoke to yesterday
maybe
also.
Maybe did something wrong?
No,
that's the only reason. I have 1 hour. And it already took 45 minutes now, so I've only a few minutes left.
What do you think about?
I want to answer questions. I want to speak to. I don't want to shout at people, so please don't give me that.
What do you think about the president?
You would like to hear what you
arrived here by plane, right?
Yes.
Yes. It's lucky that the plane motor or the jet engine didn't melt by the jet fuel, right?
Yeah, it didn't.
Because it took more than an hour to get here by plane.
True.
Yeah, and 1 hour, World Trade Center. The beams melted by jet fuel.
Yeah, but it's
he's already stated his opinion on this. Can we focus on Bilderberg?
You don't burn the kerosene in a jet engine like you do in a building. I mean, it's totally different.
Yeah, but it wasn't
I'm a politician. I have to admit, I'm a politician. Yeah. So, but I was trained as an engineer.
But you're an engineer.
I'm an engineer, a nuclear engineer. So I don't know everything about it, like you.
No.
Mr. Samson.
Samson.
What do you think about the heavy presence of police?
You had your turn a long time already, didn't you? I didn't. If there's somebody else wants to answer.
Do you want to keep talking about 9/11 then?
I want to exist. No, it should. But if you define privacy as the right to be left alone, which is sort of a definition of privacy, at the moment none of us have it. Do we? No.
We choose not to have it right now.
It's difficult to preserve it in a world where everybody watches each other. You watch me at the moment with that thing, and other people, and governments watch each other. I'm a public figure. You are in a public place. But no, the problem is privacy. It's something that is precious, and we should preserve it. But at the same time, we all use technology that is intrusive. Privacy.
We don't listen onto your phone calls.
And now
we don't listen onto your phone calls.
That's difficult.
We don't read your emails. We don't listen onto your phone calls. We don't touch you at the airport.
I don't do that either.
I'm talking about you generally as part of a system that does it, right?
Yeah, I represent a system that does it.
Yes. How do you feel about that?
And you're part of a system that does it.
Unfortunately, I had no choice.
I think it's a difficult discussion.
I'm born into the system.
I mean, we need information about criminals, terrorists. Don't you think you need that information?
You do, but you need to have direct suspicion.
That's not what I've heard.
Well, it's
through invading people's privacy.
You can't have dragnet surveillance.
The constitutional laws that people have.
No, you shouldn't break laws.
They now have
every day, all the time.
They have dragnet drone surveillance on whole cities.
It's not difficult.
Maybe you have to blame me.
It's on plain paper. If you can read, you know it's
you have to blame me.
Blame the people you work for.
I'm responsible for laws that allow the secret agencies to look into stuff that you don't like. So you have to talk to me, not the secret agents. They're
just doing their job just like the Nazis.
Do you think it's going to escalate?
I'm with a lot because every government does this.
Yeah, we're just doing our job, but there's no excuse.
No. Hold on. If a policeman here just does his job, he's not a Nazi. Yeah.
He's still responsible.
Depends on what he's doing.
Well,
to the privacy
just
debate.
watching them, I think they're doing a good job.
Do you think it's going to escalate where every citizen is going to have?
Is civil disobedience, is that a crime?
No.
No?
No.
But the thing is, when people disobey...
I did it for 9 years in Greenpeace. Civil disobedience is part of democracy.
What made you stop?
But you have to have a few conditions, but two most important. One is non-violent. Always non-violent. If you do civil disobedience, don't use any violence. And
take responsibility for your action. If you do something that is not allowed, you get arrested, pay the fine.
There's a lot of things that are not allowed
that's
now.
the conditions.
That's up to the policeman.
No,
the police decide what's not allowed
it's in the end up to the judge, not the policeman.
People are getting shot over not having a license
decided
plate.
by the judge, or the district attorney in your country.
The bigger question is, who's behind 9/11? Who is really behind the Bilderberg?
I think Osama bin Laden was behind 9/11.
Not bin Laden, come on.
I think you don't agree.
That is so rich. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, you can.
Why can't you people just leave us the hell alone?
Why start you by laughing at me?
Because you mentioned Osama bin Laden.
And I still want to answer your question.
He's a patsy.
Exactly.
Who created Osama bin Laden?
And I still want to answer
the FBI and the CIA
the
created
government
Osama bin Laden to
indirectly
the Afghani militant Islamism in order to create problems for Russia. So Russia would then be forced to invade Afghanistan, and then you'd have a new situation. Just like when the CIA deposed and murdered Mossadi in Iran.
What's your question?
Why can't you just leave us alone? Why are we so damned important to you as debt slaves? Why are we so damned important?
But you mean now, literally, so that I should walk away now?
Why can't we have access to what's going on in there?
Why
the 200 plus?
Because not every building is accessible to everybody. If I want to go into that building on the 7th floor, I can't go in.
So why don't you guys come out?
I come out. Well, not enough.
Level are you?
Sorry about that. Well, not enough. Not important. Sorry? I don't ask anybody else something to do because they don't ask me. They don't ask me.
What's on the 7th floor? Why can't you go on the 7th floor? Why can't you go on the 7th floor? Is it specific?
Member of Parliament.
Is it specific meeting area? Can you?
With the other Bilderbergers, what are you discussing for
What are they discussing on the 7th floor?
Well, loads of things. Ukraine, for instance. Yesterday, Europe. Yesterday, this morning, privacy. The way intelligence services gather information about all of us. It's that simple.
Net surveillance.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we didn't decide anything. We discussed it.
What was the discussion?
Sometimes you need to discuss things before deciding. Sorry. We only decide in Parliament.
Is it against the law in Holland?
May you ask Rasmussen why the European
you smartly walk from that side all the way here.
They died in American war in Afghanistan, and now NATO help Al-Qaeda in Syria.
I don't think
Al-Qaeda, but the group close to Al-Qaeda. May you ask him, please, how is this problem?
I will ask him. If you,
Mr. Sam, you said you're not allowed on the 7th floor.
Is there friends up there? Please take the net to your friends up there. Please, it's very important.
You have to take it.
Mr. Sampson, is the married sectioned off?
It's not mine. It's yours. It's not mine. It's yours.
You can't even come close.
You
do that.
I don't think it will really help.
Is the married sectioned off? Is there different floors for different subjects?
No, there's floors to sleep on, and there's only one meeting room.
Did you say something about the 7th floor and you can't go there?
Oh no, it was that building.
Oh,
I was just pointing at a bank.
But is it against the law in Holland for a public elected person to meet behind secrecy behind doors?
I do that every day. Everybody does that every day. You do that every day. I do that every day.
I'm not.
But we have no influence.
Sometimes in a discussion like when you are discussing with somebody who's not a public person, he doesn't like to be confronted with a camera. And yet I want to know something. So I go to that person without a camera, out of the public, to know more about an issue. And then I come out and I'm responsible for everything I do myself in public.
So could there be disclosure afterwards, after the meeting?
No,
could there be written disclosure for the public?
I'm not sure whether you want it in any form or whatever, written or on camera or whatever.
But there is is that a possibility?
Every member here is responsible for his own actions. I'm for my actions, so I talk about what I do.
You're allowed to speak about what goes on in detail?
Yeah. I'm not. We agreed with each other, and that's part of the rule that I just explained. We agreed with each other that I wouldn't say anything about what another person said. I'm only responsible for what I say and what I heard.
That's interesting. That's an interesting way to put it.
Well, that's Chatham House rules, as they call it in a sort of
country house.
No, Chatham House.
Rules.
No, it's called Chatham House.
But it is a problem, isn't it?
It's a dilemma. It's not a problem in itself, but it's less transparent than you would want to.
Exactly.
But I need it, and you sometimes need it too.
But we are your boss. You're working for us.
Well, then you should impose a law that prevents me from going in.
Yeah, but you're the one who makes the laws.
No. You are my boss, so you just told me.
Yeah.
So you can tell me which law I have to make. But first of all, you have to find a majority to take that.
Exactly, but
that's the problem with democracy.
It is the arrogance also from you.
The problem with democracy is that you not always get what you want. Yeah, that's true.
Never.
I have a better question. Sorry, but war, what does it help us?
Nothing.
Nothing. But why do we keep
crime? What does it help it? It's still there.
But why do we keep spending money on it? Why? Why can't we use it?
We want to prevent war, and sometimes you need to be to have an army for that.
But you're talking about the entire world. You have the control over the world.
No. I don't have. I would like to, but I don't have.
Your group?
You would like to?
I'm almost just. Well, wouldn't you like to?
No.
But, sir.
Oh yeah, you were the one that didn't like.
So can't you use it more in a better way? Like instead of military, start teaching people how to.
Yeah.
Express themselves without violence.
Do
we actually need to kill people?
I had a long time in my former years that I believed that you were completely right.
Yeah.
And then Rwanda happened. And all our teaching and all what we did didn't help anything. There were 1 million people slaughtered in 2 months' time.
Yeah.
And I would love
we sent 10 million.
I would have wanted that we could prevent that. And in order to prevent that, we needed to send people there with weapons to stop it.
You can
so bomb them back to the
Yeah, you're right.
And I know how.
That's it.
Wasn't all that imposed Belgium?
What about thinking about psychology? Every person's need. What if you are starting to fill them about people who need water, people who need shelter?
Maybe sometimes we fail in that. Sometimes every day we fail.
All the money we actually waste on military instead of actually putting it
without the democratic taxpayer system, we wouldn't be able to fund these wars.
I would completely agree with you, but the world isn't perfect.
Can't we make the world perfect?
Well, we try.
Yeah.
You try, I try.
So you don't try to have influence?
Yes, of course I do.
Well,
but you do it on the wrong way.
Military-industrial complex only exists because of the democratic process.
Not the majority.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see. I can tell from the world.
But you can tell from the 5 minutes that you've met me.
No, not you personally. I know, of course.
But who's then you? Who's then you in your? You're
here this year because somehow they.
Oh, you mean Bilderberg?
Bilderberg, yeah.
There's all kinds of different people at Bilderberg.
Yeah, every year. You're here this year because they have somehow decided that you are helpful in the plan this time.
Well, I'm not really helping.
I don't know.
You're making a few policemen a little nervous because you're coming closer into me. I don't mind. I don't mind, but I just tell you,
peaceful.
Dangerous.
The last thing we want to cause harm.
Talking about aging.
Yes.
Depopulating. I thought it sounded like eugenics. Can you explain again?
Well, it was just a discussion about the fact that, for instance, in Denmark and in the Netherlands, but also in loads of other Western, and also China and Japan, people get older every year. The life expectancy rises, which is a good thing because it has to do with health and welfare, etc. But it also poses some problems for society as a whole. And politicians are appointed, are elected to solve those problems. Pensions, the fact that we have a smaller workforce and more retired people, the fact that we have less children and more retired people. It's not a problem, but it's a challenge for society to adapt. And we need to adapt in order to face that challenge. That was the only discussion.
Immigration?
Well, immigration would be a solution or part of a solution for that, but not everybody agrees.
European culture is
even more.
Want to dilute the European culture and culture.
I like a diverse society, yes. But I know there's people that don't like it. And then we disagree.
Is it the government's job to take care of its citizens?
Sorry?
Is it the government's sole purpose to take care of its citizens?
It should be.
And how do we actualize that?
Well, by voting us away if we don't. So every 4 years you have the chance to say, well, you are not acting in the general interest, you go away.
You think that's been successful so far?
Well, it's the best system we have, with loads of flaws and loads of mistakes, but I haven't found a better system yet.
Well, maybe
I don't think we've been allowed to.
No, maybe we can
not allowed
say,
to opt out.
We all get in there at one point. I've heard about systems who have tried that.
You mean all together? Yeah, we already discussed direct democracy. Yeah. So we're going to stand on a parking lot and we just decided that climate change is a hoax.
Okay.
That was basically decided.
Global warming.
Global warming. Sorry.
The climate has always changed.
It is not man-made.
It's not man-made. I mean, sorry.
CO2 to
okay, I will be more precise. Man-made global warming is a hoax, according to you. Yeah. I don't agree with you, but I'm a very small minority here. I just have to admit.
To talk about global warming to climate change. That was a peculiar change in discourse.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That there's people like you and others who found out that your scam was perhaps not going so well with that.
Well, I'm starting to talk about some. Let's try to agree on something. I'm starting to talk about something else, a new energy future. I mean, even if man-made global climate change would be a hoax, oil and gas, we're running out of it. So we have to find new ways to produce our energy. Do you agree?
Do you think
then we can start working, because that's actually the only way we can act on climate change.
Don't you think the best way is to open up the market, free markets competing against each other to make a profit from the best energy source that provides the most energy for the least cost?
Sometimes it's a solution, but you have to be careful with it. But it's part of the solution. We saw it with Chinese solar panels. A market was opened up between China and the rest of the world, and solar energy became a lot cheaper. So sometimes market mechanisms work.
If governments are working with companies and they're doing favors and doing backdoor deals with certain corporations and not others, then it closes up the market.
That was not what we were discussing.
But I'm asking, if that happens, right, that's not going to create progress, because it's going to stagnate the market. And it's not going to develop the price.
But if a government does that, you are allowed to send that government away.
I hope so.
If it's a democratic government, and then we're back to democracy.
I'll write you a letter when that comes up.
Can we do something about it? Like, for example, make a limit on how much
we have to.
I mean, single person
I'm a social democrat. I sincerely believe that you have to.
Can you let me talk finish, please?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Well, what if we make a limit on capitalism and say you can earn this much?
That's socialism.
Then say, okay, we have this pile of money, and we actually spend this money on the people who don't have it.
Yeah. Good idea.
So we can make...
Because that money will never go to the people. It will never go to the people.
Why should someone be more wealthy than others?
Well, some difference in income will be inevitable, I think, but they shouldn't become too big. You're right.
Why should someone have bigger rights to live?
You need a government to, for instance, impose taxes on rich people so that we can give some money to...
Why shouldn't rich people make their money that they've earned?
I think you have to discuss with each other, because I don't think you agree with her.
But you agree with him.
Sorry about that.
Now that you have a past as an agent of environmentalism, what's your view on doing a smart grid?
It's a nice way of doing demand-side management, meaning that we use less energy if we have a smarter energy grid.
System that potentially can be Orwellian in its structure.
Yes, it's monopolized.
It's big data collection.
That's exactly one of the downsides. Yes, but there's also some positives.
Of course,
and now we have to weight them and
an absolute negative.
Precisely.
When you look at,
and that's why you weight the positives and the negatives. I think you can handle the privacy problems with it, but if you don't, we have a real problem.
So
if you do,
even decentralized solutions.
But a smart grid is in a sense also a decentralized solution, but in a bigger system. And then you go with your argument about privacy, and you're right. You're right. That's something we need to take care of.
So a question about what we talked about in there. I mean, are there some of the real important questions? For example, that the bees are dying. I mean, that is something that really matters. You talked a bit about privacy. I mean, I would imagine you talked about how we can decrease the privacy. Yeah. I mean, that we still have some left. That, for example, we know it cures to cancer. I mean, the pharmaceutical.
Why do you think the bees are dying?
Because of environmental pollution, maybe radiation from mobile phones. I don't know. I'm not a scientist.
I was just good because you thought man-made global warming was a hoax, but on this side we are on the same side. I do think we have to be careful with chemicals.
A lot of pollution that a lot of shit companies do. But I mean, these are the real issues. Also about privacy. What about how we
discussed
fight disease? I mean,
we discussed it.
Industries, they don't really help us. Most of us know that by now. There are cures to cancer. There are cures to almost any disease.
Yeah, we have.
If this coming out to the people.
Let me give you another dilemma. If you want to cure cancer, suppose that you can. You need big data. for it. What? You need very big data for it.
You go to water fast.
No, you need to know why cancer is existing and what kind of. You need a scientific database of enormous amount. And there you are again.
We've cured other things.
Well, yeah, but we haven't cured cancer.
Working quite.
We haven't cured cancer.
You surrender? No, the pharmaceutical industry have not.
Could be one of the solutions, but not for everybody. You cannot cure all. But you cannot cure all cancer with cannabis. No, I'm sure. I'm sorry about that.
What specifically are you bringing to Bilderberg this year?
Sorry?
What specifically are you bringing to Bilderberg this year?
Myself.
But why
Nothing
why
more
you
than
and
that.
not a different politician?
I think what they always do, it's Europe and the US, and it's the Bilderberg sort of tradition. And from every European country, they ask somebody from scientists. They ask us. There's a Dutch scientist in there. There's some Dutch business people. There's some Dutch politicians, and that's for all countries.
Right.
So basically, you try to have a mix, and it's sort of randomly selected. I'm not important, so
Do they need
I'm
you as a
randomly
politician
selected.
or a nuclear engineer?
I'm a politician, and just by accident, I'm also a nuclear engineer.
How do you become invited?
I was trained as a nuclear engineer.
If it's so random,
As a
why have I never
scientist,
been
what
invited?
is your view, especially as an environmentally interested scientist, what is your view on fluoride, that we have fluoride all around us in our toothpaste?
Which was not democratically voted for to be implemented.
Used by Nazi Germany on
it was first used in the Gulag, in the Russian gulags too.
to make people docile.
Yeah.
Why do we have that in our toothpaste, and why is that so spread around the world?
Drinking water
in
in
different
America.
food products and different products that
Well,
we
it has.
Is that a problem from
Fluoride has also some positive effects on your teeth.
Well, first they said it was internal, then they said it was external.
Hold on, please. Some positive effect on your teeth.
Yes.
So basically, that's why it's in toothpaste. But it has also some negative effect.
Big difference.
And that's where and if you think you should regulate it out of our food, there's loads of stuff that is regulated out of our food.
But the problem
Fluoride
is
could be one of them. If you vote on it in the Netherlands or in Europe, we regulate it out of our food.
Isn't that an issue that the democratic process didn't?
Sometimes
vote
it works the other way around. Sometimes you vote to get something out of it.
Isn't that the complete opposite of democracy, when something's imposed on you and then you have to fight to get it out? Shouldn't we have had a say whether to fluoride or water?
I don't think you have a problem with fighting for something, don't you?
Yeah, but I'm losing.
No, I lose every day my fights, and you win some too, don't you?
That's not democracy, though.
Yes.
To vote something out.
I do. I'm not a fair. And then I'm going away. I'm granting this
Sodium
lady the last.
fluoride is synthetic, extremely toxic. Toxic.
I know.
And the natural fluoride was called calcium fluoride. Why is that? Why are you not using that one? It's not dangerous for us.
I'm using Prodent. I'm not sure what kind of fluoride is in there.
Because it's not it doesn't make anyone money.
Have you had your name again?
Prozac.
You know more about that than I do.
Your name
Prozac.
Samsung. Hi.
SSRIs are filled with sodium fluoride because it makes you docile.
I hear him think, who the hell is
Did you hear what I'm saying?
That's correct. There's loads of people in there that you think, who the hell is he?
Antidepressants
I'm one of them.
filled with fluoride.
I'm one. Samsung is my last name. Diederik is my first name. I'm from the Netherlands.
You're from the Netherlands?
Yes. And you think, who the hell is he? Well, there's about 130 people in there, and you know a few of them, but most of them are just like me.
Actually, I don't really care, but I just wanted you to make sure that you answered this lady's question, because they were actually...
I don't have the answer.
Why is antidepressant filled with fluoride?
I don't have the answer. I don't know.
I have.
I'm sorry.
It makes you docile.
Okay.
And that's why it is...
I will get into that.
The issue there
I will promise I will get into that.
We should have had a say in
I learn every day, yeah?
Right? We should have had a say in what to take into our bodies.
Former Greenpeace activist.
Yes.
Why are you part of this?
Because I joined politics, because I think democracy is a way to change things, and we don't agree on that. Everybody here, some of you do. And part of democracy, part of being a politician, is that I try to become better every day. And therefore you sometimes go into a hotel room with scientists and business people, and sometimes you stand on a parking lot with loads of people around you with a camera. And both events make me a little better.
Thank you.
Goodbye, guys.
You can see how the opinions were mostly clashing against each other, with both sides being very keen on their particular views. Nevertheless, I appreciated that Diederik Samson did come out to communicate, because I think that communication is of key importance. It is a universal solvent. Interestingly, one woman from Copenhagen that I talked to asked me if I don't think that it's a positive thing that all these people at the Bilderberg conference come together to communicate. I answered that this was my first thought as well when I first heard of the group, but when I found out more about who founded the Bilderberg group and what agendas are being pushed there, I became suspicious. However, I still like the idea of people coming together to communicate, and I think there's great leverage in this. My positive experiences in communicating with locals at the scene motivated me to now put forth a challenge to you, the viewers of this film. I challenge you to create an epic show of communication at the next Bilderberg meeting. Of course, the Bilderbergers themselves would hardly talk to me or you. Many of them walked past me as I stood a few meters from them outside the fence at the Marriott, but it was abundantly clear that they had no intention whatsoever to talk to me or even look my way, and when they were asked something by some of the other reporters, they would just walk on. There were a few exceptions, but mainly there is not much communication between the Bilderbergers and outsiders, and if there is a communication, it's essentially a clash of strongly opposed sentiments. The Copenhageners and the police, however, were much more open-minded from what I have seen. So what if demonstrators would gather with the intent to communicate with the police or any locals that are passing the scene? What if we would just be present, open and ready to communicate? It's like this phenomenon where one or more people point to the sky, others will stop, look and inquire about what's going on. I want to encourage you to communicate with whoever is not a demonstrator at the scene. This should be done in a civilized way, not harassing anybody, but being present and available for communication. We as demonstrators could start some kind of giant improvisational theater show by filming this, thus we would have numerous perspectives on this as we communicate with the different individuals and factions that are present at the scene. The presence of a great number of cameras filming this would also make it easier for everybody to talk on camera, as no one is really singled out. It would be a group experience and a big thing. The communication should be moderated by the participants themselves. A good way would be to have a person from within the ranks of the demonstrators make one comment or ask one question, to which the police or a local person could reply to or not. Then the person who spoke would designate the next speaker, and so on. This way, everybody has a say while also having time to reflect and remain calm despite the significance that this kind of interaction could have. It could be an iconic show of how decent, civilized and constructive behavior works in practice. The Bilderbergers and all those that see themselves as the rulers of humanity rely on the police forces to protect them and on the general population to be oblivious or indifferent. Now, if the demonstrators would engage the police and the locals in the way that I just described, we could erode the power base of the Bilderbergers and also show it to the world by producing epic pieces of art, as the interaction would be filmed by many demonstrators from their unique points of view. These videos could be marked with a particular tag, and compilations could be produced by combining these videos. Engaging the people at the scene in such a way breeds the potential for remarkable encounters and conversations that could have a great effect on those watching them all over the world. It would be highly educating and inspiring. Even if the police would be specifically ordered not to communicate, this would still be fuel for some epic situations and videos. Who knows? This could become the greatest improvisational communication ground on the planet, and Bilderberg could become known as the place where such a great experiment is being conducted, and it would attract more and more people every year because of this event that we create. Why not create such a piece of beauty and art when we're there anyways? Ask yourself in which lies greater leverage, shouting at Bilderbergers or communicating with those that did not come to protest the Bilderbergers, but who are there at the scene nonetheless. I for one had my share of shouting at this year's conference. Next time I want to create the Bilderberg Improv Theater, and I want to invite every one of you watching this to join in and make it an event that inspires and touches people and also reaches those that are hesitant to learn about Bilderberg through the material that is available at the moment. After all, I believe that it's our common goal to educate ourselves and each other and to encourage everybody to participate in life, to communicate, to create, and to become empowered. Let's try it through art, beauty, conversation, and making friends. And be prepared to listen, because this is 50% of communication. Listen to what will be said to you, think about it, and do your best to help elevate the communication to a higher level. Let's invade Bilderberg with cameras and with a willingness to communicate with everybody.